It's Kidderminster Harriers fans podcasts, and we are live. It's episode 53. It really is, and I'm so excited to invite you here. And we weren't here last week, and do you know what? I really hope you missed us as well. I really do hope you missed us, which is great too. So, Harriers played their first of 27 games in 3 weeks yesterday, and should have beaten Southport, who were described by one member of the panel, who's yet to appear, as tin. What the hell is happening? Why didn't we play him up front? And who has AMS got to sleep with to get in the starting 11? That's the question I'm asking. We're joined by Nick and John on the way shortly. Hello, Nick.
Evening all.
And he's just arrived, just as I was saying.
How you doing?
He has. I'm well, thank you, Nick. Hello, John. Good evening to you.
Good evening, gents. Can you hear me all right?
Absolutely, John, absolutely. Thank you for, squeaky bum time there, John, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. Right, question before we... Oh, Nick's gone. Nick's had enough now. He's like, no, I've done my bit now. It's all gone. John, right, a question for you. See if you can answer it for me. Let me get this music. It's a great idea, but there you go. Let's start that now. Right, so, John, where was Matt Sleep when I called him on the phone to see if he'd be interested in coming on the podcast tonight if he was available? Where do you think he was?
I know exactly where Matt Sleep is, and I don't think I'm betraying any confidences when I say Matt Sleep is in Milan. He's at the San Siro tonight. So
they lost 1-0. They lost 1-0.
Really? I hadn't seen that, but he's doing one of those things you only get to do as a middle-aged. I'm sure he won't mind me calling him middle-aged football fan. And that's go on those dream European football trips. So I hope him, Jordan, who else is there? Loads of the lads, Leo and everyone else. I hope they're all having a great time over in Milan. And yeah, dream stadium to visit. And I hope they enjoyed every second.
Have you been there, John? Any of you been to the San Siro?
I have not. I've not done many European trips at all. Actually, I'd love to go to the San Siro. I'd love to do some games in Germany. I'd love to do the Parc de France and a few others. But let's wait and see. Maybe that's for the future. Maybe when I turn 21, I'll treat myself.
Oh, mate,
I've done the new camp.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I've been there too. I've been to Dortmund's ground. John, nice. Can I just reverse a little bit there? Are you fluent in French, buddy? Because that was spot on, that French. Parc de whatever.
Oh, oui, mange tout.
I love it. So, in case you missed my intro, the key points were, what the hell is happening? Why didn't we play in up front yesterday? And who has AMS got to sleep with to get in the starting 11? So, let's start with you, John. So many things to digest from yesterday, but for the people who weren't at the game, in a nutshell, because we will dissect it, can you just give us a little rundown of what happened yesterday?
My headline is a draw that felt like a loss. I don't think anyone really left the ground feeling like we're in a rich vein of form or feeling like it was a positive result. I think I spoke to a couple of people in the Arms after, and we were talking about the recent results we've had, and actually, we're not doing bad. When you look at it from take a step back and look at it from an objective standpoint, we've only lost one in 14? Is it? We lost one in 14. So from that point of view, we're not doing bad, but my takeaway from yesterday was it was a massive missed opportunity. Southport were not in any way, shape or form a real threat to us, I don't think. Adam Murray came out and used that word that I think he's had to use far too many times in post-match interviews this season, frustrating. I think if you watch his post-match interviews, half of them he uses the word frustrating, and I think no match deserves that more than yesterday. It really, really was frustrating because we were by far the better team. but being the better team doesn't get you points on the board. The league table at the end of the season doesn't have an asterisk saying better team in 10 games. You know, we gave them, I think, to be honest, far too much respect. I think we set up to play against a team that plays more in the style of a South Shields or a Merthyr, who come at us with an incredibly high line and really control the possession. I think we controlled the possession, but what we didn't do was create enough, and what we did create, there was no one there to convert. So it was, a massive missed opportunity, I think. And I don't think anyone watching this would dispute that it was 2 points dropped rather than a point gained.
John, can I get you to turn your camera around the other way, mate? So you're landscape rather than portrait. Is that okay?
Let me have a go.
Oh, hello. There he is. Oh, will that work? Oh,
has that worked?
No.
You just got to turn off your auto rotate, John. I don't know if it's an iPhone you're using. If it is, just turn off auto rotate.
It's an Android, mate. I'm not doing well enough for iPhone, but
sorry, mate. I can't help you. I've got no idea how you do it.
He's out. He's gone. In the corporate world, pal, you wouldn't last a day. Nick, you were there yesterday, I believe.
Yep.
Anything to say other than what John said? I hope you do, because this is going to be a long one otherwise.
Well, yeah, I do actually. I do think Southport were a decent side. I actually think though we're making teams at times look decent. I go back to what I've been saying in that I feel at times we, Adam Murray talks about us controlling games. Now, again, I've said this before. I don't know what his version of controlling games is versus ours and what that looks like. Because for me, I feel like most games feel sort of 50-50. I look at it again yesterday and Dibble is appreciate that ball that got lobbed in over his head was a bit of an audacious effort that I believe was going wide that he kind of, I guess, didn't want to take any chances with. But he's made another couple of good saves, Dibble. And I look at their goalkeeper and think, has he made a save? So I don't think we can sit here and sort of say that we've dominated Southport yesterday. I don't feel like we controlled the game. There were moments I thought where we had momentum in the game. I thought Danny Waldron had a positive impact off the bench. I thought his ball across should have been taken. Adam Murray spoke about in his post-match interview about making half chances, real chances. I think that was one of them. So I thought he had an impact on the game. I've sort of been saying it in the group chat. I think one of the challenges we have at the moment is the three in midfield, and you saw it again yesterday in my mind. That they're too similar. That they're all stoppers, blockers, harassers, pressers, but they're not really the kind of players that are going to see an eye of the needle pass and thread it through. And again, the manager's alluded to the fact that you just can't really get a player like that at this stage in the season for various reasons. But I then also think it's a really strange decision to let the lad from Leicester go back and then bring in a new centre half that, by all accounts, doesn't feel like it's necessary. So felt that was a bit of a contradiction, really, in terms of what we're trying to achieve in terms of getting the balance of the midfield right versus what we've actually done, which is send a creative player back and bring in a centre half. But look, despite that, I thought at the back we looked fairly solid. There were moments in the game where we had good possession, but I just think at the moment we're kind of back in that zone where we've lost a little bit of confidence, a little bit of flow, in the manager's words, and we're missing a spark. We're missing a spark, and that player that can connect the game and just provide that little bit of quality for us. And I think whilst we're missing that spark, we're going to be in the position that we're in, which is feeling frustrated at times where we're not able to unpick teams like a Southport, etc. Where on paper you look at the league table and think any team worth its salt needs to be putting teams like Southport away, and anyone really in that sort of bottom 8 to 10. But and the manager said it that Southport are a better side than their league position shows, and I felt that yesterday. I think overall it was probably a fair result, except for the fact we would have had more possession, but clear cut chances. We had a couple, didn't we? But I don't think we were knocking the door down. I don't think we were banging the door down and constant pressure on their goal. Word for the referee, because I think he had an impact in the game also. I thought I never really slate the refs on here. I don't think I actually ever have, but I thought the ref and the officials were generally really poor. A really poor standard. Really poor standard. I thought yesterday from the referee. Got a few things just clearly wrong and let the game get really bitty early on. I looked at my pal almost within 5 minutes and thought, I think we've got a bad referee here, and it sort of played out that time. But that's no real excuse. We're at home. We're a full-time club. They're a part-time team that played on Tuesday, and we've not been able to put them away. And that ultimately is disappointing.
I want to go to the comments. We love that we're live. We love comments as well. So Andy, thanks. It's great to be back as well. Gary Martin, evening to you. Oh, Dr. Stephen says, where's good to see you're better? Because if I wasn't better, Dr. Stephen, I'd come and seen. It would have been yourself, mate. Referring back to John's comment about away games, you can go when the Harriers get in the Champions League, which I don't think is anytime soon. We'll talk about Tuesday night later on. Getting tired of the false forwards. Need a centre forward. Southport scored their first chance. We passed around the box too much without anyone taking a shot. Is that correct? Are we scared? Are we goal shy, guys? John, are we goal shy?
Well, we're certainly goal shy, given the amount we've scored compared to the teams around us.
Yeah.
And I think part of that problem we saw a couple of times yesterday, where the balls are being delivered into the box and there's no one on the end of them. The one that came across the face of goal, that Riley Reynolds was just, and he worked his socks off, but he wasn't in the game as much as he has been in prior fixtures. Riley Reynolds was just a day late and $1 short to it. If we'd have had a central striker in there who'd been in that position, that's an absolute gift that I'd like to think would have been put away. And yeah, we are goal shy. Yesterday we were striker shy. We set up, I think, in a way that we have set up previously this season that has worked. But I think it was the wrong team to play that setup against. I think we needed that central striker there yesterday who would have been in a position to get on the end of things.
Sorry, John. Can I just pose a potential front three? Could we not see a world where we actually play 3 forwards? One sort of either a false 9 or an out and out sort of centre forward, and Morgan Smith, or ideally, to be honest, Danny Waldron, and then 2 players down the sides: Devine, Walker, Seb Thompson, Hemo, any combination potentially of those 3. Because I go back to it. Devine again yesterday sort of played within himself a little bit. I thought he was fuming when he came off. Rather, I was in the East Stand and I saw him, and you could tell he was really unhappy with being subbed off yesterday. Yeah. And I'm still convinced that there is more to come from him in attacking areas. I mean, he puts an absolute fantastic cross in, absolutely brilliant. But I've just got this thing in my head where, against the Marine on a Tuesday night under the lights, can we not just go for it? Can we not just put some serious pace, some serious quality with a target man to try and link it all together? And if it doesn't work, fine. You've got the 3 there. I know Davis might be suspended for this game or the subsequent game, but you've got those kind of stoppers, blockers there. But I'd love to see Walker, Devine, or whoever it is, Hemo, and a target man, 3 out of those 4, and just really go and press teams in and see what we can do to make it happen. Because I genuinely feel there's goals in Devine, or certainly chance creation in Devine. that sometimes I feel like we don't always see it, because he is, whilst he's a wing back for us and he is able to get forward, I want to see him up there. I want to see him as almost a wide left player. And look, if it doesn't work, fine. But I do think we've got lots of flexibility in this team and lots of players that can do. I mean, Adam Murray's already said it. He wants players that can play multiple positions. I'm just not sure at times some of those positions are the right ones for the players at times. And I use Riley Reynolds as an example. He's playing in what I class as a specialist position, which is a number 10 role. Now, I watched Riley Reynolds a lot last season, and I thought at his best, he was kind of more box to box, or more of a sort of an 8 than a 10. And I just feel that it's at times square pegs in round holes, and when it comes off, it's been great. But I do feel now we've got to a world where we are really putting a lot of stress and strain on George Walker's ability to go past a man and hopefully deliver something. And that seems to be the creative side of our game, which is to work the ball out wide to George Walker, either 1v1 or with an inside out pass so that he's running onto it, and hope that he's then able to unlock a defence with a ball across the box, either on the ground or in the air. So we've kind of gone from a world where George Walker was barely getting a minute for the Harriers to almost being the actual focal point of pretty much every attack. I feel like we probably need something in between. I think that's probably fair.
Sorry, John, I even put it out there in our group. I said, why don't we just have 3 up front? Why don't we have AMS, Hemo, and Seb, and just go for it rather than just pussyfooting around and try not to score a goal? It does my head in. If I'd have been there, I'd have absolutely lost my mind tomorrow.
What's that? Sorry, Wes, I missed that.
I just saying we should have. Why can't he just put AMS up front with Seb and Hemo to the sides of him and just go from there? You've got the 2 wing backs. You've got Divine. You've got Folks as well. They're plowing down. You've got the rock hard guys in the middle, apart from Davis is now suspended. It's not.
Joe Folks doesn't play that role anymore either for us. So Joe Folks, for me, almost at times, certainly over the last 2 or 3 games that I've seen, he almost has. Well, he plays an inverted fullback. He's not playing the Joe Folks of the Phil Brown and Russ Penn Joe Folks, which was an out and out sort of fullback that had the energy and enthusiasm to get up and down. He now strikes me as a player that's sort of been trusted more to get on the ball in pockets of space and play, which again, I'm not slating Joe. I think he's had a fantastic season. He got man of the match yesterday, and I thought he had a really good game overall. I thought Slew, I think that's his name, gave him a real tough game, because he's a seasoned player, that Jordan Slew, and he showed his experience at times. But I'm with you. I do like to see Joe as an out and out sort of right back, but he's not playing that role this season. He's much more central. He's much more kind of Philip Lahm in a way, getting it in the middle of the field almost. He picks it up in pockets, and by doing that, you do miss out on his, I guess, natural ability to really press forward, push players up the pitch, and get us in and around those areas. So yeah, he seems to be playing a very different role this season. I mean, you mentioned there about Seb. I thought Seb looked quite lively when he came on, but you know, I can't see past the fact we're sort of relying on players that, if you know, on the assumption that you're suggesting that him or he starts, for example. Yeah, he's got a few goals this season, and he's clearly a very talented footballer. He has got ability and skill. I can't see past the fact that last season he was loaned out to perennial relegation teams, and this season has been the same. I don't feel like that's the answer when you look at, say, Maz Koyar, who we had on loan, who's now getting regular minutes in the Football League. That there's a serious delta there between last season's expectation of player versus what we're hoping Seb can deliver. And if he can, and that's not also just aimed at Seb. You know, I was calling for George Walker to play. I think he's had a positive impact in the team, but the same rules apply. George Walker is not Maz Koyar level. at this moment. Neither is Seb at this moment, and I feel we've got too many players that are kind of in that bracket that could be fantastic for us, but maybe a year down the line, as opposed to the actual not finished article because it's National League North, but the article that can get you in a position where you know, like Dave Roll last season, he comes in, he looks mustard from day one, from minute one. He's polished and he's ready. And if you want to win the playoffs, you need those kind of players. You need probably 5 of them, and I'm not sure we've got that many of them right now.
We got 1 of them. That'd be a good start. That was the case.
I'm not saying we haven't got any. I think we've potentially got a couple. You know, the goalkeeper, Owen Evans, folks, but not as many as last season. Like last season, it was a proper team, weren't it? And that team right now, you'd be taking over this one right now.
No, nowhere near. We're nowhere near that team right now. And it's not because we just drew an inferior team. I'm going to call them inferior because we gave them too much respect. Back in the day, Brian Clough, right? They never, now I'm talking Forest here, 70s and 80s, but they never did any training about the opposing team. They just concentrated on their game. I'd like to see a little bit more of that rather than just worrying about the rest of them. It just makes no sense. John, help me out.
Murray talks about that though, doesn't he? To be fair, he says it's not about Marine, it's not about Southport, it's about us. That is what he says. So, but we all know that in 2026, even at this level, there's a huge amount of, you know, work done to do your research, and clubs are definitely doing that on us because early doors yesterday, George Walker had 2 on him. Pretty much every game, it seems that he's getting doubled up on now because it's like teams know that's the methodology for us.
But if that's the case, that means there's a spare man in the team somewhere because there's 2 on George Walker. So why can't we just exploit that? Or did we try to? Is that what happened?
Go on, John.
I mean, first of all, Nick, just want to give you a shout out for using the phrase "there's a serious delta." I absolutely love that. No, I think there's a few good points there. Divine, I think, has been in quite a few games given the license to play in that forward left wing role.
Yeah.
I think that's where he thrives. I don't think he should be playing as a left wing back. I think he's wasted there. I think his qualities are being able to take a player on, head for the byline and delivering some serious quality. I also think he's very, very skilled at reading the game and being in the right area to either make an impact and set something up or finish himself, which we've seen in quite a few games. And I think yesterday he was playing slightly deeper, it seemed, and I think that he was unfortunately running into trouble because of that. So I agree that pushing him further forward would give us more of a chance. In terms of box to box midfielder, I really felt for David Davis yesterday. I mean, he's younger than me, but he's still in footballing terms, getting on in years. I don't know what he is now, 54.
35.
But yeah, that was slightly tongue in cheek, but yeah. But I thought he was absolutely outstanding yesterday for the majority of the game. He's being asked to play essentially defensive midfield, attacking midfield, also push forward into that false central striker role, and also offer cover for the defence when asked. And he did everything superbly. I thought he was exceptional yesterday. Having said that, and I'm sure reflecting on it today, he would agree that that the second yellow card was utterly, and I mean this with all due respect, was just a moment of madness, was just brainless, which might be a harsh word to use, but when you're in the situation that we're in, when we need to put a run of results together, a run of wins together, to lose him for a game to suspension, which I don't think will be Tuesday, because I think it's 7 days before it applies. So I think he'll be out because Wealdstone's trophy, but he'll be out for Buxton, I think it might be. So yeah, he'll be out for the game the week after. We've got another Tuesday nighter at home next week. I can't think who it is, and I should know.
Alfreton.
So I think he'll be out for that game if I'm right. I think he is our box-to-box midfielder now, and not just box-to-box, but he's also being asked to work in both boxes. And we're overly reliant on him because of his performances this season. My worry with that is we're overly reliant on a man who can't play 4 or 5 games in a season because he doesn't play on 4G pitches. And I'm not saying that's his choice. I'm not saying that that's the wrong call. But, if you're without your most consistent and most reliable player for 4 or 5 games, that's a problem. He's done exceptionally well to keep going as well and as long as he has. But if we were to lose him, and I hope we don't, to an injury, which is why we don't play him on 4G pitches, to try and prevent that. But if we were to lose him to an injury, then we're then, I think, in serious trouble without him, because we just don't look like the same team without him.
I agree, John. I agree that we definitely don't look like the same team without him, and that he has had a really, really good season. He's I'd say he's probably had a better season himself personally than last season. I think he's one of very few players that are here that can say that versus last season, but he is one of them. But I go back to, is that indicative of the challenges we've had with recruitment this season? Because whilst Davis came in and I know you and Matt are massive David Davis fans, and I rate him also, but I just think for balance, you look at someone like Davis last season, and he came in towards the end, and he had that really good night at Brackley with him and Zach Brown, fantastic in the middle, 2 very different types of players, which works really well. But I think if we're reliant this season on your a 35-year-old sort of veteran in midfield for us, and he's been our star player, I think we do have an issue with that being the scenario, because last season, for large parts, he wasn't starting in games. He wasn't in and around the first 11 really at that point. And whilst he has had a brilliant season, and I think he has probably been our best player, I think that kind of says a little bit about where we're at. And I go back to what I said at the start of the conversation, which is that I think you need 2 of those 3. I don't think Cooper, Davis, and Reynolds is the right blend. And I think they're too similar. Cooper and Davis are very similar players. For me, I don't think you need both. I think you'd probably need one or those 2, and Riley comes out and you play somebody else in Riley's position that's actually a creative player, because we outnumber teams in midfield, because we've got 3 lads in there that can get about the pitch, and they're strong and they're physical. But if those 3 players were playing for Chorley 3 seasons ago, would we be saying the same things that we say about them, or would we be saying our classic sort of Chorley style, aggressive, physical, not really footballers? I
think that's a good question. I think that is a really good question. Going back to what you said about Dave Worrell, obviously Worrell came in with a huge amount of experience, having played at a higher level.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we get from to a certain extent from Cooper, but certainly from Davis. And I think that, when you look at the players that we've got in the squad, the ones that are performing are those ones with some serious football pedigree, that have been there, done that at a higher level, and that's really showing on the pitch. It's a difficult one, because I whilst I hate square pegs in round holes, I also think you have to pick your best players, and those three have been, undoubtedly three of our best players. And Cooper's finish yesterday, I thought was
Brilliant.
fantastic. Showed a real nous, and I find it difficult to think of dropping any one of those three at the minute. Yes, I think Riley Reynolds, I'm sure by his own admission, didn't have the best game of his life yesterday. I thought that he was slightly off the standard that we've been used to from him. However,
football's weird, isn't it? Football's so weird, because I heard that in and around the East Stand, and I thought he was quite good. And I've seen it on the forum as well that people saying Riley Reynolds didn't have a good game, but I thought certainly in that first half an hour, I thought he was trying to make stuff happen. He was trying to play those inside out balls that I talked about. He looked, for me, he looked quite dangerous in there. But go back to it, he's not a Cam. He's not a 10. And I totally get what you're saying. You got to play your best players. In principle, I do agree. But then, are always the best teams the 11 best actual players, or is it a system that actually gets the best out of the 11 that are chosen? It's the classic England scenario, isn't it? Thomas Tuchel right now, sorry to go off from Harriers to England, but Thomas Tuchel right now isn't necessarily going to pick the best 11 technical players, because a lot of them will be similar. And you've seen that. We've probably got about 5-10s that can all do kind of variations of the same thing. That three in midfield, certainly the two of the three in midfield, are way too similar. We do not need three players that are that robust, in my opinion. But the challenge is we had a good run when they were doing it, didn't we? So if we can continue to get back to that level of maybe confidence or whatever it is, then great. But currently, right now, we're almost relegation in terms of goals scored. So there's a genuine systematic issue there. There has to be at this stage of the season. There's no other excuse for it. There can't be.
Gary says, do we think we may have hit a stage in the season where it just doesn't happen for us?
We had that at the start of the season, though. That line was thrown out at the start of the season.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's going to turn for us. Over a season, these things even out. So, have we not had that?
It's back. It's back.
And I think when we look at the problems that we had at the start of the season, that's actually a really good point, because one of the things that we covered on this podcast at the start of the season was a lack of midfield general, and now we've almost got too many. Yeah. So it's like
John.
We had the problem where we said, look, there's no one to put their foot on the ball and take control of the game, and now we're in a situation where we've got probably embarrassment of riches in terms of that. With the England point, I completely get what you mean, and he's got even more of a headache after Nico O'Reilly started playing out of his skin in the 10. But I think yes, we need, ideally, in an ideal world, we would need someone who was an expert in their own position, in each and every position for whatever formation that we wanted to play. We don't have that, but we have.
And John,
to...
that is by intention, though, isn't it? That is intention, because pre-season, during the season, I want players that can do a good job in 2, 3, 4 positions. So that is intentional, isn't it? We've gone down that route. That's part of the plan.
It is, and I think when you look at what players are being asked to do, players are being asked to play across up and down the pitch. They're being asked to drift wide. They're being asked to push forward. They're being asked to cover defensively. And I think that they're all acquitting themselves pretty well. Yeah. One thing that I wouldn't say from yesterday, however frustrating it was, sorry to I know that's trademark Adam Murray, but however frustrating it was, I don't think we can bemoan the effort yesterday. I felt there was a real effort and intensity from all the players. George Walker, I know that, he has been our creative outlet, and I'm loving watching him play and watching him develop. He is the opposite in terms of having that level of footballing experience. He's growing into the season. He's growing into every game. Yes, he was doubled up on yesterday. I don't think that, again, I don't think that the approach to the game really helped him or brought out the best in him yesterday. I think Riley Reynolds, what he did do well yesterday was he found George Walker time and time again. I found him a little bit frustrating yesterday because I just thought he was trying a bit too hard to make sure he beat the man before he was delivering the cross. And there were a few times where, I thought, he was getting to the point where he was being covered, and then he'd drop back, and then he'd go, okay, well, I need to beat the man, and he'd try again. Whereas actually when he drops back and he's got 6 feet of space, you think, well, just have a go at delivering it from that point. It doesn't need to be, he doesn't need to hit that line before he delivers the ball in. But again, I don't know if that's something that's being drilled into him in training or similar. But we have a wealth of experience in a way, but then as you say, Nick, quite rightly, our creative focus is down that right-hand side through George Walker at the minute. So yeah, we need to give him that adequate support, and that support either comes in the form of being able to reach him, to teach him, or, and this one won't rhyme, being able to give him someone to find in the box, and if he's in a position to deliver a crossing, if there's no one there to target, then that's a problem. And yesterday there was no one there to target, and I think it was obvious pretty early on that that's what we were struggling for yesterday. Everyone looking at that team sheet, I think, as I'm not sure it was quite as much a shock as it was against Morecambe, for example, but going, okay, well, we haven't got a target man, we haven't got a central striker. How are we going to play our game? I think that unfolded yesterday, whereas it hasn't previously.
I do think. Sorry.
No, go for it, Nick.
I was going to say there's a player that hasn't really had much game or airtime on this podcast, and that is, and this is a player that I thought played quite an instrumental role in last season, and that's Cam Candola. He doesn't seem to be, for whatever reason, fancied. I mean, at centre back for one, we're bringing in loans. We're not playing. I mean, we played Reece Hall there over Cam Candola a couple of weeks ago, which obviously that experiment didn't work. We've not seen him or Jack Clark really since. So he obviously doesn't fancy him as a centre half. And when I'm talking about those three midfielders being kind of similar, certainly Cooper and Davis, I think Cam Candola is more of a technical midfielder, more of a technician, more of a ball player, a tempo setter. So yeah, I guess just your thoughts really on the fact he hasn't really been fancied this season, and he was quite integral last year, really, at times.
Can I make a point there? Cam has been amazing in games when he's played just in front of the back 2 or 3. Yeah. He's been if it was a diamond formation, he'd be there, man. He would be there, and he's been fantastic. But that seems to have been lost, and I don't know why it's lost.
We don't really play a CDM, do we? And actually, it's
no, we don't.
If you look at Burn was kind of a different. I wouldn't say Burn was a CDM, but he was almost like a deep lying playmaker midfielder, sort of general kind of type player. But he was quite deep. Burn typically, he was the sort of player that would try and take it off the back 4. Cam Candola is similar to that. But if you think about how, and last season, that's what Cam did quite a lot. If you look at us this season, we don't really play through the lines. I would say a lot of the games plays out from, the defenders. Dibble gets involved as almost as an extra man. Joe Folks goes in so he can play those diags. And just on Dibble, by the way, his passing is clipped diagonal balls this season compared to what he has been with his feet. He's improved massively. At the ball, you're having the ball at his feet and actually having to try and be more of a modern day goalkeeper. So fair play to him on that. He's clearly worked hard on that this season. So he almost plays a little bit of a part in that. But my point is that because we don't have that lying midfielder that's comfortable on the ball, a lot of our play goes through the defenders, and then is either a clip ball down the sides for Walker or Devine to run onto, or kind of one of these inverted and then back out. There's not a huge amount of the midfield on that ball taking it from like the defenders very often, in my opinion. So maybe Cam just doesn't fit that style, because like to your point, Wes, I think he's good in that sort of CDM area because he's clearly got the defensive brain for being a centre half, but he's a bit more expansive, I would say, than maybe a classic centre half. But this season, don't think that's the kind of. Let's face it, we are at times front to back with how we play, and that kind of means that you don't necessarily need a ball playing CDM in there. But I like him as a player, to be honest. But he's the kind of player that, in my mind, needs regular minutes. I think he needs time to play. He's not an impact player, Cam Candola. He's not the kind of player that will come on 70 minutes and start to boss a game or do something spectacular. I feel like he's the sort of player that he's in the 11, he plays, he knows his role, and he does it sort of 7.5 out of 10 every week. I don't think he's the player who can bring off the bench to change a game, but he'll probably score a hat-trick on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, he can certainly roam forward and have a shot from distance, as we saw against South Shields.
He's technical. And talking about square pegs in round holes, maybe you're playing the 10 on Tuesday night. He's got the feet for it, but again,
talking, Nick, you were just talking there. You were just talking there about from front to back and the running and doing all this. But can we realistically do that Saturday, Tuesday, Monday, Friday, Tuesday, whatever it is? Can we do? I mean, surely that'll end up killing the players. Would have thought.
We don't have a choice. That's the marker that's been laid down. That's the philosophy of the team. I mean, we didn't have a philosophy early doors, but now we do, and it is more press and high. And I use the phrase high tempo, sort of with gritted teeth, because I feel like that flow and tempo has dropped off a little bit. I feel like I'm using Morecambe as an example. Obviously, it was a crazy, ridiculous game and ridiculous win. But in and around that period of time, the Fylde game, the South Shields game, the good run, we did seem to be really putting our full-time onus on teams and really pressing the life out of them. I sort of feel a little bit like the Merthyr game, yesterday's game. It's not quite there. We're almost like a yard off it. And I think when you play that style of high press and go after teams, it's great if everyone's on it. But if everyone's slightly off it, it looks obvious. If that makes sense.
It does make complete sense. And the Merthyr game I didn't mind so much because they were a team that, again, were in a run of scoring freely. I think they'd scored 7 2 games prior, and I think a clean sheet against a team who has scored freely and at will is always going to be a good thing. To your point, Wes, Tuesday, Saturday, then obviously Monday, Friday over Easter. Yeah. Every single team in this league is in the same boat. Some of them don't have the squad depth that we have. Some of them have better squad depth, but we really should be exploiting the fact that we are a full-time outfit. Yeah. And I think that will definitely tell in some games. But where it didn't tell was yesterday's game. I think the tempo question, are we going back to the days of September, which I'm sure you remember the 21st night, Wes? Are we going back to the days where we allow the opposition to dictate the tempo which I hope we don't get to a point that we're doing again, because we yesterday should have been dictating the way that game was played. And I think, again, it goes back to maybe giving them too much respect, or setting up in a way that we thought that they were gonna come at us. We can utilize the fact that we are a full-time, very fit team far better than we are at the moment. And I think you mentioned earlier, Nick, about bringing in the centre half from the Swansea Academy. I think that's a really good move. I think we need cover. We need cover in case of any injuries, but we also need cover for the games where we against those, and I hesitate to use the term minnows because everyone, it's a fairly even league, but against those teams in the bottom 4, bottom 5, where you think, okay, we've played Saturday, Tuesday, Monday, we need to freshen things up. Centre half was one of those positions where I thought we definitely need cover, so I'm glad that we've got that. I also think we need cover in the midfield, and I think Cam is not treated or viewed as a centre half under Adam Murray. I don't think that's going to change. I don't think he's being considered as a centre half. I think he's purely being considered as a central defensive midfielder. So Cam could come in to that midfield without a problem, but I do still think we need another body to cover in there. And my guess is that would be someone probably pretty young, again, probably an academy player. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, given we've just said how much experience we've got in there. And something I'm sure that we'll come on to, if not now, then pretty soon, is we need someone else in who can actually put the ball in the onion bag, because this is the biggest problem.
No, we talked about strikers scoring goals. We've had too many strikers come in. No one scored. So we're just going to leave it there for that one for the moment, John, okay? Because I want to finish at 9 tonight, because Imodium is my friend and I've missed my last one. So I just want to make sure I get it in before bed, if you know what I mean. But let's go Marine. Marine Tuesday night. Let's talk about Marine Tuesday night. John, that was the worst away game I think you've had of the season, my friend. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, Macclesfield kind of put it close, but I certainly didn't feel leaving Macclesfield like I did feel leaving Marine. I thought that, the only way was down, baby, after that. But obviously it wasn't. That was the way that the squad reacted, the way that Adam Murray, the whole team reacted to that was brilliant. I'm confident about Marine on Tuesday night. I think that I would be very, very surprised if we didn't see a central striker start. I imagine that will be Danny Waldron. And I think that we will take the game to them. I think the problem that we have with Marine is they are a very, very physical, very tall, for want of a better technical word. They're great in the air. They're a physical team. They play long ball football, and we have to deal with that. Well, I think you said earlier, Nick, about the defensive qualities yesterday. Obi, I thought, really shone defensively yesterday, and I'd like to see that again on Tuesday night. I think he won so many crucial headers, which will be invaluable on Tuesday night against a team who play almost exclusively long ball stuff. But we need someone who's going to be able to do that at the other end. Whether that's Waldron or AMS, I don't know. Hemo, has won far more headers since he's come back than he has the right to. I think we need a target man. We need someone who's going to be able to play them at their own game, and we need to be able to dictate the play rather than letting them dictate how we play the game.
We got it. We have to win, man. We have to win and score some goals. This is what we got to do.
It does feel to me like a 6-pointer in terms of one kickstart in some kind of, because ultimately after this game we've then obviously got the Wealdstone Cup game. So to go into that having not got a result on the Tuesday night and to give up more points on this playoff hunt sort of takes the excitement a little bit off the game in the trophy, because all of a sudden it's been mentioned on here and various other message boards that, you know, we're looking over our shoulder a little bit now, not in terms of third place, but actually the playoffs in general. And I've had another look at the table tonight, and I do think that's a little bit premature. But if you keep drawing games, and Murray's alluded to this himself in the interviews recently, we don't lose many games, but we do draw too many games, which again reflects the fact we can't really score. It kind of just drags us into that 5 games atmosphere. I feel it on Tuesday. If in my mind, if we don't win Tuesday, it sort of turns again a little bit. Not toxic in total, but you just feel it in the fan base, that apathy at the end of the game. Like, players have given everything yesterday. It wasn't for a lack of effort. It never really is. I think the lads are fairly honest, but there's not loads of people sort of staying and clapping, which I sort of get. But I think another say a defeat, let's say on Tuesday, it's unthinkable really, because I do think then we're back in that negative mindset. It doesn't take much in football, does it? But 5 games without a win would, I think, spark that where are we going kind of scenario. So I think for the players, for the manager, for us as fans, I think we need to feel that belief again about this team, and that for me is getting 3 points against Marine, and ideally, you know, like a 2-0 win or something that's in our world these days classed as comprehensive.
Couple of wins would be good, right? So Bedford on Tours joined us. It's nice having an opposition fan join us tonight. And he did mention this, and I saw this, and I was like, "What does this even mean?" Have you seen this, guys? Kings Lynn have been very naughty. Look at this. Wow. Allegedly, shut up. Allegedly, you can see the sprinkler. So basically, I can't read it. I haven't got my glasses on. My glasses are here, but I can't read it anyway.
Nothing wrong with wanting a slick turf.
I know, but that's just unreal, isn't it? That? And they said that the team had a flu bug. But they were caught in their own CCTV. If you're going to break the law, really, I mean, come on now. So
they are in serious trouble.
In the mire.
They're in the mire. One of them teams that were. I'm fairly sure Mr. Mees put Kings Lynn as his title contenders. I hope it wasn't me now I've said that, but. I think I'm fairly sure I said filed, but yeah, that they are right in the mix. Them and Hereford, they're in for a dogfight. So, as frustrating as it sometimes is being a Harriers fan, and it is quite often frustrating.
Yeah,
you know, at least we're, you know, where we are and still fairly overall positive in terms of having a good club with a good reputation that does things the right way in the main, and is at least going into what is nearly March with potentially playoffs to fight for and a trip to Wembley to fight for. So whilst it's frustrating, I guess there is context, and things like the Kings Lynn debacle and Hereford, I guess, does provide us with a little bit of balance, that it's not all doom and gloom. But we do just need to see a bit more of a spark, and a bit of, I described this yesterday as I have done a few times this season, as vanilla. We need some thrills. Do you know what I mean?
A bit of
we need some cookie dough in there.
We need a weekend away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, Wes. Carry on.
Yeah, mate. No, I was just going to say that was my any of the business, but I just wonder. I mean, surely they've got to be for deducted points for this.
It certainly wouldn't be points. It certainly wouldn't be points.
So?
No. It wouldn't. If anything, it would be a fine. Believe me, the National League is far more interested in fines than points deductions. That's a rarity. It's a shame that any team feels that they have to do this.
John. Shut up, mate.
I don't agree with it at all. I'm not trying to defend it. I think it's a shame that okay, feels they have to do this was the wrong phrase. I think it's a shame that any team stoops to that level. They've obviously got a mole in the camp who has released that for the sake of a few quid. And I think, again, to Nick's point, I think we're really lucky in an awful lot of ways that we're now an incredibly well-run club who are trying to do things in the right way. I think we're open and transparent in ways that we haven't been for many, many years. And I'm really grateful for that as a fan. And I think we're always quite clear on this podcast that, you know, what we're talking about whenever we're being critical is all about the on-pitch performance, not what's going on off the pitch. My pre-season pick for the title was Macclesfield, but that was before Robbie Savage left, so that's my excuse.
But they're what? No, I don't want to talk about Macclesfield, John, because I was there, you were there. Fell off a scooter, food was shit. We lost 5-1. I mean, what a night that was! What an absolute night that was.
That sums it up, yeah.
Yeah, it really does. Right, 5 minutes left, guys. I want to go at 9. So, thank you everyone for getting involved. Has anyone got any other business, please? Any business at all?
I've got a controversial one.
Do we just
Go
sit
on,
down?
I've got no any other business, so let's just focus on this.
Nick
Okay,
bolognese, but yeah, carry on.
I want to talk about Hemo, and I have been, you know, many episodes of here. I've said how great I think Hemo's been since he came back. I think that he has been integral to turning around our fortunes. You know, when he came in at South Shields and every game since, I think that he's been one of, if not the best footballers on the pitch in an awful lot of games, but no goals. And he's gone from leading scorer last season to drawing a blank almost every game. And I think he's been so unfortunate where some of the chances have landed, but there's a lot of others that he really should have buried. And I'm starting to wonder, how much longer do we persevere with Hemo?
I don't think Adam Murray is going to renew it after February. Would be my gut instinct tells me. The fact he started him yesterday, I think he might get another start on Tuesday night or maybe next Saturday in the trophy. And if he doesn't put up trees, I've got this real sense that he might be returned. I don't know why. I've just got that gut instinct that we're not seeing the Hemo that we know is there, that we saw last season. And last season almost feels like 2 seasons ago. It feels like it was so long ago, given what we're now seeing. Now that could be one or two things, but one of several things. But I think the two things could be that, you know, has he become an old man overnight in boxing terms of things caught up with him, or is something about the system or the side, the setup, just not working for him? And then I guess the third thing is confidence. Hemo has always been a player that plays in streaks and in runs, and he's just not been able to get that going, whether that be at Dagenham or the Harriers this season for whatever reason. Technically on the ball at times, he obviously looks nice. It was a lovely little round the corner ball, Travella style, that he did yesterday. That was beautiful. It's something that probably not many players, to your point, John, on that pitch could do. But what I would say yesterday, personally, I don't feel he proper grafted yesterday, Hemo. There were times where he sort of was sulking about and he wasn't. To me, he didn't look like he was giving it absolute spuds for the entire game. But he's probably frustrated. He's there to score goals. He wants to score goals. He's clearly a showman, a baller, and it must be really frustrating because last season everything he touched turned to gold. He had the Midas touch, as they say, but this season it hasn't worked for him, and you sort of feel a bit sorry for him. But I do think Adam Murray's put his sort of stake in the ground when he mentioned in an interview a few weeks ago about Hemo almost exclusively, and sort of said, we need him to score goals. So he's effectively having a go at
Why don't you
at him then.
if that's the case, why don't you actually play people up front rather than just doing this 4-6-0? Why don't we just play? We've literally got 30 seconds now.
He played there yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he was played through the middle yesterday. I think my thing is with Hemo at the moment is I think there are so many things he does right, so many things, and as I say, for his position, for his height, for his physicality, he wins far more battles than he has the right to win, far more headers than he has the right to win. And I think some of his pass distribution has been really integral into the goals that we have scored. However, he is in that team. He wasn't brought in to play as a playmaker. He was brought in to score goals, and goals is our primary concern at the minute. And my thought is we need to bring in a proven striker who is going to get, in whatever's left of the season, 7, 8 to 10 goals. That we absolutely need that. Now that might be Hemo. You know, he might get one off his arse, but John, and then go on honestly, 7, 8,
John, 10. Honestly, who is scoring 7, 8 goals as a centre forward in this team? Who?
Well,
what I mean by that, John, is we don't create enough chances for a centre forward. Like their goal to conversion rate to chance goal to chance conversion or whatever it is must be almost Haaland-esque. Like you need.
I don't know about that.
1 and 2.
I think, but yesterday there were 2 or 3 clear-cut chances, balls into the box, and there was no one on the end of them. As I say, that one across the face, there were a couple of George Walker balls that, you know, there should have been someone on the end of. That one at the back post for Hemo. Okay, that fell at such an angle that was really, really tough for him. But I just think, you know, if you look at the budget that Hemo takes up, and, you know, I'm not, you know, this isn't going to be broadcast live to HMRC, but it's you know, it's 1,500 quid a week. He's the highest paid player in the squad. I'm sure that's no secret that he is the highest paid player in the squad, and there's a reason for that, because he was last season's top scorer in the league. However, if we were to return him, I know we're talking about, you know, someone's life, work, family, whatever, but if we were to end his loan and that money was freed up and reinvested into the playing budget, if you think about someone that we could bring in who's maybe it's not worked out for at a National League club or something like that, that would potentially be on the end of some of those balls into the box, I think that for me right now, as much as I love Hemo and what he's done, would probably be a better way to spend the money. And my mind is slowly changing, and my point of view is slowly turning to that point that, you know, do we say, okay, thanks for what you've done, we're going to take that, which is a huge slice of our playing budget, and invest it in someone who we just think is going to get on the end of things. I think we've tried to do that with Danny Waldron. He needs more time on the pitch, absolutely needs more time on the pitch. But I think with what we had on the pitch yesterday, if we want to just kind of almost coast along, picking up the odd win, you know, a few draws, not really losing many to try and get 6th, 7th place and then maybe scrape through the playoffs, what we've got right now is absolutely golden. If we want to try and get out of this league, I don't see how we do that without a striker who is able to finish chances and feed off scraps, feed off things that other players in the squad couldn't currently. But to my point, I don't see how we get someone like that in, excuse me, unless we free up the budget that we're currently spending on Hemo.
We've got rid of a lot of. Sorry, Wes, just because I know we've got to wrap it up, but we have released, moved on, freed up budget, regardless of Hemo still staying in the team. You know, you look at Tunnicliffe, he must have been £700-800 a week. Spokes has gone. He probably would have been similar, maybe a little bit less. I'm tired. I can't think of maybe some of the other players that we have moved on and rejigged. So I was kind of half anticipating that being done with a view to do that regardless of Hemo. And of course we've got the lad in from Swansea, but outside of that we haven't. But you know, I think Dan Giles has just put about our 6th striker of the season. We have tried various different strikers. So either we are consistently getting the recruitment of centre forwards wrong in terms of Willoughby, TSS, Giassi. Appreciate that was a bit of a nuanced reason. Danny Waldron, etc. It's one of two things: either our recruitment and the choice that we make on the centre forwards is poor, or we don't create enough chances for centre forwards at this level, or maybe somewhere in between. But there can't really be any other explanation, because well, they just can't be, because it's happening whether we have, you know, Willoughby up front, whether we have TSS up front, AMS up front, Hemo up front, Giassi up front, Waldron. The results are still very, very similar. So I go back to let me give you one last example. If Merthyr have Danny Waldron up front, using just him as one of the many examples we could have given from the 6 strikers we've had, they create chances systematically. They are creating chances, whoever is up front. Now, they were lucky and fortunate to have an absolute bags man to put them away, but it's almost no surprise that a top player was scoring bucket loads for Merthyr. They still score goals now. Admittedly, they lost yesterday, but in terms of goal scoring, they are prolific. Now, you probably need a balance, because their goals sometimes come at the expense of conceding goals. That is their methodology. Ours, I still feel, is too much kind of the other way, but we still do give teams chances. And because we're not scoring, we're not expansive. The guy mentioned it yesterday in the interview, and Murray sort of called him out on it when he said, you know, if we go a goal down, it's almost like that's it. And Murray was like, yeah, but we weren't saying that, you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's a fair shout. But if we go 1-0 down on Tuesday night, who believes we're going to win that game 2 or 3-1?
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it's a good point.
If we go 1-0 down on Tuesday night, people will start booing and get on the players' back, and that's
the worst thing, isn't it?
But it is the worst thing. But you just know that's what will happen.
Guys,
listen,
I don't think
that's
that's
got to
far
be the
away
end of it.
again. I don't think that's far away.
No,
Wes needs his Imodium. We need to go.
Yeah, I do. Thank you so much, John, for that. All right, hang on. Let me clap you out. We're professionals here. Let's do this. John Smith, thank you so much. Nick, enjoy your spaghetti bolognese, elite friend.
Thanks, mate.
And listen, guys, thank you so much. We're back, and we had a steady stream of people in, which is really, really good. Please sit with us. If you're new to it, then don't forget to hit subscribe. We love it when new people join. And yeah, we're back again next Sunday. Well, there will have been 2 football games, and hopefully we would have scored at least more than 2 goals. And we'd have won some games.
5-0 on Tuesday.
5-0. Come on, John, do it. Come on, John. Come on, son. You've got this.
Got the Harriers.
Got the Harriers, right. Cheers, guys. Have a great one. Enjoy
Cheers,
your Monday.
See you guys.
See you
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.